On the podcast today, we have Dewunmi, CEO, founder, owner of Timothy Paul Designs. I actually call him Timothy because when I met you, I just thought, who names their business Timothy Paul? And you had a whole story behind that. So why don't you introduce yourself and share that story with us?
Yes, I know. I think you're the only person that calls me Timothy. Not
Timothy.
even like not Timothy or
Timothy.
It's Timothy. My name is Dewunmi Amoye, and obviously from Nigeria, but I was actually born in the UK.
Tell them.
Tell them, I know. But although my accent has
you still have it
a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe it's because I'm on this. maybe it's coming here. But yes, I was born in the UK, moved back to Nigeria. I was there for about 3 years, went back to the UK. And I think at the age of 12, and that's when I realized, I think whilst I was studying that I loved arts as part of, anyone from Nigeria, there's always the expectation of certain subjects that you're supposed to...
Engineering
law. But for me, I think arts was just something that I really, really enjoyed. And I felt free in that. And I think that transitioned actually when I went to college, Bradford College, and then university where I studied product and furniture design.
Okay.
So that's all.
I didn't know that.
Product and furniture design. So, I guess at the time, I was trying to find... I was into art. I loved painting. And then I just thought, okay, what else can someone do in the art area that could make money? Because one of the things when you get into art, anybody's interested in art, and you come from a African family, sometimes they're like, oh, how are you going to make money? So for me, it was like, okay, I knew I enjoyed making stuff, like design. And I'm always curious of, how is the mobile phone made, or how is the microphone, or how is the table? So that's how I got into product and furniture design.
Okay. So, is it like architecture?
No, it's more like it's in the space of architecture, but product. So in the UK, they call it product and furniture design. I guess in North America, it's called industrial design.
Oh.
Yeah. So I got to know that when I actually came to Canada in 2009, that, I'm not looking for a product design job, because product design is more tech stuff.
Yes. I was like,
so then I quickly found out that, if I'm looking for a design job at the time, industrial design job, it has to be industrial. The keyword there was industrial. So you're more tied into manufacturing. You're more dependent on manufacturing companies to help you to find those opportunities.
Were you already working in the field in the UK before you came? So you came from school.
I came straight from school. I did my undergrad in product furniture design. Then I went on to actually do my master's.
Here?
No, in the UK. Same university.
Okay.
That was design innovation. That allowed me to get more into research.
Okay.
To write a thesis. Figure out. Even that time, I was still trying to figure out exactly how, what type of role I was looking for. So the master was kind of like a break for me to kind of figure out what it is I wanted to do. Did I want to go into more of the academia route where, because I had professors who were teaching at the time, and I had some interest in it, but the practical side was more appealing to me. So I knew that I really just wanted to be part of something, like create something. So that's what the master's allowed me to do. So the product, when I did my undergrad, it was more training, learning, being more exposed. Whereas all the other people in my peers in class were all trained, ready to go. I came from a fine art background. I had no product design experience. I didn't even know any technical terms. So I remember going when I presented my portfolio, it was just paintings. Everybody else came up with some models and 3D models and all this stuff. And I remember sitting down, I'm like,
what are they doing?
I'm sure they were giving me that side eye. What is this guy thinking? But that's what it is.
Yeah.
But after I did my master's, and then I guess I thought I was going to stay in the UK, but it just turned out that there was an opportunity for us to come to Canada. And then, my brother, my parents, my sister, who had also applied to go to school here in Canada as well. And just a lot of changes. So we made that transition to, come to Canada. And we didn't look back. I've been here over a decade now, and, I've learned a lot. And this is home for me. So going back to the beginning in terms of
your business.
In terms of my business, yes, I am the founder of Timothy Paul Designs, as say TPD. Where I basically yes, I do designs, but I specialize mostly in creating brand identity or visual identity for small businesses. And I mean, I can work with, whether it's small, medium, large, but I mainly focus more on the small business because I have found over the years that, and I've met a lot of people who have started businesses or want to start a business. And I've just come to learn that everybody just wants to start, but there are certain missing ingredients to it that you need to kind of put in place to help you set up. Now, I'm not here trying to act like, I am the expert or anything, but I do pride myself in trying to be more prepared. I think everybody wants to try, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My parents have businesses, they've established businesses, they've started this and that. So that's probably where my entrepreneurial mindset comes from. So and I'm always passionate about seeing people start businesses. But what I've realized is that a lot of the time they want to start a business and it is, I guess the word is transactional. Like it's like you want to make money, which is
fair.
Which is fine.
There's inflation.
Inflation. Talk about inflations. But everybody wants to make money. But for me, I try to steer the focus more on building and establishing relationships. If you look at all the big brands that exist today, you will find that, for example, Apple is always used as an example in terms of why do people buy the Apple phones? A lot of it is that people have established, or Apple have done a great job in making sure that they've established core relationships with their audience. And, one of the things that's fascinating is, you have like the what, why and how. A lot of people, the what is important, but why do you exist? And it's one of the questions I always ask small businesses or anybody that wants to work with me is like, why does your business exist? Because the why is what is going to help you and get your audience to buy into what you're doing. So that is something that I, try and pay attention to. So I create, logos, visual identities, and it all depends on the clients, but most of the cases I've worked on designing logos for clients and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I love that. Before we get into your business and what it is, I still remember the first, I don't know if it's the first time I met you or maybe it was you remember it? Yeah.
Life Walk.
Life Walk 2016. Yes. It was like Covenant Chapel, they were doing Life Walk, right?
I short hair.
And I had short hair. Yes. Wow, your memories.
Yeah, I remember.
I think I was wearing like a tank top or something. That's the thing I remember that.
You seem very busy. You were walking around.
I was I was admin. I was doing everything.
Yeah.
And somehow I met. I was just about to call you Timothy. I met
sure, that's fine. It's fine.
I met Dewunmi, and then you were like, I don't even remember what we talked about. I just remember you just tell me, I have a business named Timothy Paul. And I was like, of all the things you can possibly name your business, it was this. And then you told me like the story behind the name.
Yeah. I think, it was, I remember, and all of this was kind of new for me. And 2015 was when I decided that, okay, I want to, it's weird, but I was like, I can actually start a business. It's not like I was working professionally, but I'm like, I really want to start a business. And yes, I was trying to find a business name. Everyone likes to name anybody in the design field typically
after themselves, right?
After themselves.
Yes.
And I was the kind of person that didn't want to do that. I was like, I didn't want it to make it about me. Because I was like, I didn't want to, maybe it was because of my parents, because my parents always don't want to put their name on stuff. So for me, I was like, I didn't want it to make it about me, because that was not what it was about for me. It was, Timothy Paul Design it all came out of wanting to serve people.
Right.
So, and as a Christian, I was trying to, and I'm sure there are lots of, people who try to find Christian terms to name something. And
blessed and favored.
Yeah. Blessed and favored. Yeah. Like something that will bring blessings into their business.
Yeah, God's favor.
But for me, I was trying to, I knew I loved helping people. You know, I think one of my life sort of, I guess, you know, meaning is just wanting to serve people. And I do that with everything, whether I'm working professionally, with the business. So I was looking at, and I always have, I think one of the most inspiring teachers was Paul and Timothy. Paul was obviously being a preacher, and he actually mentored Timothy. And I hope I'm getting it, because I'm sure some people will be like,
this guy is not a pastor though, so
not a pastor. But you know, I loved the relationship between the two, and one of the things that I found very, very, very profound was the fact that it's just how willing and helpful they were in their ministry. It wasn't like, they were doing something. They were dedicated to
what they were doing.
To what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that dedication is what inspired me. And I'm like, okay, for them, it was about obviously serving people where they were at.
Yes.
In a different capacity and different levels, whether those were not as strong in the faith or those who were a bit backslidden, whatever it was, they were committed to helping people, committed to serving people. And that was something that resonated with me, and that's where Timothy Paul Design, came from. And trust me, at the time I was like, Paul Timothy Paul Design, John Paul. But then I was like, you know what? I loved these two people in the Bible and what they did, what they stood for, and the discipline. So that's where Timothy Paul Design came from. So,
to be honest, like, I feel like that's the one part of the conversation we had back, almost 10 years ago, that stuck with me. But then my brain was just like, you know what? Because I was so used to seeing designers name stuff. I'm like, I'm sure somewhere. In fact, if they didn't name you Timothy, I will name you Timothy. Sure. Just so that somewhere, somehow, you've named your business.
Yeah. And I thought maybe because you didn't know my name, that's why I thought I was Timothy.
No, I knew your name.
Oh, yeah, you knew my name. And I think it's funny. It's nice because it's also a reminder for me in terms of what I am. It's almost like word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that organic, I know him as Timothy because he actually has a business called Timothy Paul Designs. So it's something that I've really, really appreciated, and I've support. Like, I've always enjoyed the support because it's always a reminder for me why I am doing what I'm doing, and it's also a reminder that I have to keep going and not giving up.
So you mentioned that you could work with Timothy Paul. You could work with small, medium, and large businesses, but you've chosen to stay with small businesses. Yeah. And I, from my experience working with small businesses, know that is no fit. It's not easy to work with small businesses. So how has that been for you as you've been building out Timothy Paul?
The same. It's not easy. It can be frustrating at times, to be honest. But again, and I'll maybe explain a little bit why the small mediums. The fact of the matter is that I can potentially work with large organizations. I think anybody who is starting out small can work with large organizations. But the flip side to it is that large organizations are working with big budgets. With big budgets and the amount of money they're spending,
there's a big wahala.
Well, not big wahala, but there's a risk factor.
Oh.
So let's just say, for example, we just used Apple. Let's just say Apple are looking to design a phone. And they were like, you know what? We're interested in Timothy Paul Design to do the phone. And, I'm going to ask them, what's your budget? They were like, okay, our budget is $1 million. $1 million is not just going to be me doing the work, somebody else.
Yes.
So they want it for a company as large, they're looking for case studies. They want proven case studies of you actually working with potential competitors or products like them. So they need a lot of convincing and reassurance that if they give that budget to you, you're going to be able to deliver. So it's not to say, it's just that that's why I think not in the design world, but I think with any general business, it's just risk. So with small businesses, it's not to say that small business, you can be a small business and be making multi-million dollars. Small business, I think, is typically like if you're, 500 employees or less.
Yes. They say that's medium now though.
Maybe
the number always changes.
To be honest, I don't really subscribe to the whole number of people.
Yes.
I would actually not say challenge, but I would probably advise that rather than focus on people, look at it in revenue.
Yes.
If you're making a certain, if you're making maybe 100 million plus, maybe you're a large organization.
Yes.
If you're making, I'd focus on the revenue because your revenue will pretty much tell you where you fall into. Because you can have 1,000 employees and not be making break even and not making a lot of money or struggling. So, but yeah, I think the reason why I say small business, or I've kind of leaned there, is because I've seen a lot of small business, and because I'm a designer and I've seen a lot of small business just start business. It's like I said, it's transactional, where they have their name, they have a website, they have social media, and they're out there selling. And when I'm looking at your business, I ask myself, okay, if I'm interested in your business, would I come to you and buy from you? And because I'm such a aesthetic, I look at the way your website, I look at the colors, I look at the visual, I look at everything, and I'm like, I wouldn't buy from there. And even in my own person, like when I look at, if I'm interested in buying, I don't know, a furniture or something, and someone refers to me a website, I am looking at your website. And there are studies that tell you that just how you appear, how your image, how you present yourself, appearance factors into people's buying decisions.
That's why you have like high bounce rates. People come in and just like actually know, and then they, you know what's funny actually, because you're saying this. I remember when I wanted to launch SoPlugged, and I think you and Francis were like one of the first people I told about it. And I remember at the time I was just like, yeah, I just want to put something together, because is right. What you're saying is right. Like when you're trying to build something or launch something, you're not thinking, you're just like, I just want to launch this thing, right? Is it that, I just want to make money, or I just really want to do this thing right now? And I remember you asking me, is your logo scalable? I was like, huh? Where are we scaling it to? Like, Shay, we're using the logo on Instagram. Shay is going to be like, what's the name of that thing that shows up? You know, when you have a browser tab and the logo shows up?
The favicon.
Favicon, yeah. I was like, and you were like, no. What if someone wants to put your logo on a billboard or something? I remember that conversation so clearly, because like, and I started asking myself, okay, why didn't I think about this? Like, how do I make it scalable?
Yeah.
And you are right, because like that's the last thing that was on my mind at that time. Like, what's my business with the logo? Like,
and I don't blame a lot of people, because like I said, I don't fault any business, because sometimes those are not things you think about, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times it all depends on, your background, upbringing, or what you know. A lot of the times we do certain things based on what we've seen and what we know.
Yeah.
I know for myself, that's not how I was thinking to begin with. These are the reasons why it may appear that, it's something that I've known. No, these are things that I have, I've watched people, I have either read books or listened to other podcasts. I know for me, one of the people that I particularly pay attention to, his name is Chris Do. He's the founder of The Future.
Okay.
And that is where I pretty much, after listening to a couple of shows from the guy, that changed my whole perspective in terms of, I did not know that. I can make things easy for myself. These are the questions I should be asking. These are the things I need to be paying attention. And all of these things, I think for a designer, a lot of the times when clients come to us, we just want to, design me a logo. Oh, yeah, sure. We don't, because maybe we're so afraid that if we start asking, we're pushing them away. But you're actually doing yourself a favor and actually showing your client your value, that you actually care about not just executing, but you care about their business. You care about what's next after that. Like, I designed this logo. Where is this logo going? They may just say, we're just thinking about business. We're just thinking about putting it on a business card. Yeah. Then I will come back and say, are you guys developing a website? Yeah, we're going to develop a website. Sometimes the client doesn't even know what they need or what they want. So our job, or my job really at times, is to just ask the questions, let them answer, and then take everything and sort of, put a plan together and say, okay, what is the expectation? What is your vision, your goal? So that's exactly why.
This podcast is brought to you by SoPlugged, an online directory of Black-owned businesses in Canada. We also work with entrepreneurs to improve their digital presence with custom-made websites, social media advertising, and product photography. To learn more about SoPlugged or to list your Black-owned business for free, visit www.soplugged.com. Have you ever had a business ghost you? Like after you did all this, like,
of course.
because that was like a biggest shock to me. Because when we launched SoPlugged program, we're like, oh yeah, we want to help small businesses build website, and then we do all this like, because I come from a sales background, I've learned to like qualify people. That's what they call it in sales, like actually figure out what they want so you can do the right thing, right? Okay. And I feel like that's just the sales term of what you've been saying so far. Yeah. And we'd like do all of that, we'll do a whole thing, and then they're just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they just,
A lot of times, I mean, there was one particular guy, I was actually excited about it. I think he reached out to me from the US.
Oh, wow.
And I was excited about it because I was like, oh, wow, it's US. And I think the particular gentleman was in retail. Real estate. Sorry.
Real estate.
So I was thinking, real estate, that's awesome. It would be a great project. And he had asked me, I think he was interested. He wanted to develop a logo. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I'm always going to ask questions. Okay, you want to design a logo? What's the name of your business? Where are you trying to go? Where is this logo going to live? Is it going to be on billboards? Is it going to be on website? So I just thought, you know what? Because there were so many emails, I put a package together. I put, okay, if you're just looking for sort of a visual identity, a logo, here's the price. If you're looking for more comprehensive, where we'll create, your collaterals, we'll create sort of basically tools to help you work down the line. Yeah. And then something more,
comprehensive,
a huge marker. So it's like your website design, it's social media, it's everything that you need to help you set up. So, and I did all of that, and I didn't even get a response. And that happens. I mean, and that's okay. I think it took a time for me to kind of, sometimes you feel hurt, like, oh man, I did all this work. You reached out to me. At least you could do it.
Especially if they reach out to you. It's different when you approach someone and be like, oh, let me help you.
I have done that too, and you know what? I think. And there's nothing wrong with it. I have reached out to companies. I have presented myself. I've even, done the RFPs where you bid for projects. I have done like a lot of stuff that I'll find, RFP. I'll Google on the internet. I'll like Google RFP, graphic design, 2022 or 2023. And the reason being is that if I don't put the year, I'll see old RFPs, and sometimes it's very common you'll see old ones because at a certain point it wasn't available to be viewed. So I would go, and sometimes I'll find something and then it's like, okay, I only have like 2 weeks. I'll put it together. Sometimes it's not always the best. You're just trying to
put your foot there,
just to put your foot there, and sometimes it can be a slippery slope.
It's a lot of work, though.
It's a lot of work, and you don't know whether it's going to be, it's going to be worth it. But I think so far, at the beginning, I wasn't really doing social media. I had social media, but I wasn't really active on it. And I think after doing all that stuff, and I realized how tired I was, that's when I shifted into social media, and particularly Instagram.
I love seeing your logo redesign.
Yeah, so I think Instagram literally has been the place where I have gotten clients.
For real?
That's where and it's all because of the logo design. So all the projects that I have actually, where I've worked with clients doing their business have come from Instagram. And all I have done is I have taken maybe an existing logo that exists, established business, and just redesigned it. Now, redesigned in the sense that I'm just giving my own interpretation of what
it could look like.
What it could look like. I'm not doing any brand strategy. I'm not giving you any logo. I'm just saying, hey, this is what the logo used to look like. And here's what the logo could possibly look like. And the reason why I'm doing that is obviously just showcasing what I can do. Like if you have a logo, if you're thinking about logos and you're like, oh wow, I like this guy's style. And then most of the time, I have boosted the post, and that's also important.
Putting money behind your stuff on Instagram. Put the money behind it.
Because, I mean, I'm not a social media guru, but I found that like by boosting the post and just sort of trying to target the people, you get more of people coming to your profile, liking your stuff. And then, you get some DMs of people saying, hey, I like your work, and that's the annoying part. Is that, oh, how much you charge for a logo? Then you'll have to go through the questions. But that is where I've gotten, pretty much, I would say the last 5-6 clients have all come from Instagram. In fact, the revenue that I've made, Instagram.
For real?
Because, I don't have Facebook. People come to my website. My website which I do have, and now looking back, if there's anything I wish I maybe did differently, shouldn't have been in a rush to start a website. I should have actually,
For real?
yeah, because it's funny because actually one of the things that I'm actually excited about, and it just started just a couple of days ago, is I just linked up with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and she's actually starting up a business. And it's not just she wants a logo and everything, but it's actually becoming more of a passion project for myself, but obviously a project for her where we're going to build this business from scratch for her. So, and this is something, and this is more of a passion, so I'm not really charging for this. It's more for her because...
So how do I get into this?
Jennifer?
I was like, how do we start our own passion project?
Passion project. Well, because I think, like I said, it goes back to that thing where, I really care. It's not about transaction. It's about establishing a relationship with you. It's me caring about your business. It's me getting to know what your goals are. It's me finding out sort of where are your blind spots? Where are the things that you're not paying attention? Okay, this is what you want to do, but have you thought about this? And what I've found that is amazing is that a lot of times people don't actually realize the potential of their business. It's not that they don't dream. It's not that they don't think about, they want to be successful. Everybody wants to be successful.
But they don't know how.
Or they don't even realize how big this could be. How big this could be. And, we were just talking and I was just saying, like, okay, you're in the spa industry. You want to do this, you want to do that. Okay, these are the people you're interested in. Do you know who your audiences are? And then I'm going through, okay, what is it that you want to do? And I'm like, okay, maybe your audience are people who care about their skin, or it's not just about products, but it's more of a lifestyle thing.
Yes.
It's more of this, that. And it's coming up with all these brainstorming. And I'm like, and then she's like, oh, yeah. And then I started thinking, and joke, I was just saying, you could also think about maybe establishing a podcast. I said, whoa, podcast. I'm like, at some point, for me, and this is what I get joy out of. It's like, it's kind of giving you all the ideas or giving you what the possibilities are. And you're like, wow, these are big
endless.
dreams.
Yeah.
And they're endless. And, for me and what I'm working with, my friend is that, we want to build this by obviously coming up with the name, coming up with the brand strategy, coming up with the brand, the visual identity, and at the same time launching so that everything starts off from ground zero. We built it up and then she's ready to go. Like I said, a lot of small businesses want to start and get going, but it's a lot of work.
It is.
You need to put in that extra little effort into those details.
Yeah.
And not just sort of, okay, I've registered the name, I got a website, and it's good to sell, because it is competitive. You are not the only one in the business.
You're not. And I think people don't realize that until they enter into it. And then they realize, even for me, when I was building SoPlugged, at first I was like, nobody is doing this. And then I started building it, and I'm just like, actually, there are people doing it too. And then now you have to set yourself apart. And I think that's where that brand identity comes in, because I'm now in marketing, right? And I know how important it is for branding, because there's a reason why people will buy an Apple phone and not an unbranded phone. Do you get that brand carries something and is valuable to them, and they will pay that money. But speaking about money, have you had anybody got into okay, you've given them a quote and they're like, this is too expensive for me?
Yeah, all the time.
How do you handle that?
Again, and it wasn't easy to begin with, because, for example, it's easy to charge a logo for, at the time when I was just charging logos, it was like $100, $300, $300, $400. And it became, quickly I realized that, listen, this
it's not profitable.
First of all, it's not profitable. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
If you were to calculate your cost of operation, okay, I have a website. Your software. And your software is your biggest expense.
Yeah.
You also have your rent as well. You factor in all your expenses. And you can put aside food, because
what's food doing inside there?
Food is you can put food. Sometimes I don't even put food, because I'm like, food.
I can't stop.
I never count food, but I always count the hard expense.
Yeah, the fixed costs.
Fixed costs, living expense. Things that can't gauge, even gas. At times I don't even put gas there. Gas, because price gas goes up and down.
Today is expensive.
So I usually put the hard cost, the ones that are fixed, like your rent, my software cost, my website cost. If I'm going to boost okay, how much am I planning on spending in the month, or is it a weekly? So like I like, even if I don't spend that much, I'm like, at least that's the budget that I've set for myself to spend. And if I'm charging for a logo $300,
it's not gonna cover that.
That's not even. That's not
even covering one thing on that list.
It's not even covering anything. That's sad. So I know it's not even just that, but it's the effort.
Yes, your time.
The time, and that's the thing. That's the cost and the time.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, I mean, and there's also a pricing strategy, even in the design world, like how you, I'm sure it's everywhere, like how you price your products or how you price your services. You look at your cost, then you look at the time, the cost.
Yes,
how much
you could have been doing something else in that time.
Yeah, so then I realized that, $300 is not going to worth it. It's not going to cut it. But then I realized the struggle as well is that clients don't see the value. They just see
it's a logo now. I can use Canva.
It's just a logo. And it's also, that's when I realized that, okay, I have to do a better job
at showing the value.
At showing the difference, showing my value and what it is I bring. I'm not just a designer of logos. I'm actually somebody who actually cares about your business, that also wants to bring the big ideas, but not just talk it, but also let's come together. And that's how you show more of even if I'm just here to design a visual identity, a logo for you, all the things that I've talked about
is going to guide that process. Yes,
and it also shows the value of why this logo costs as much as it costs. So I remember, like, when I was charging someone, I was like, oh yeah, this is not going to work, until I actually caught the video of like Chris Do from the future, and he's, I just remember watching the first video was like, how much does a logo cost? I think somebody asked him that question, and he just says, oh, how much do you guys charge? Like, just asking him how much. He said, well, for a logo, it's 18,000.
Stop.
My head like leaning, like, I'm like, 18,000.
For what now?
I'm like, wow.
For what? And you're charging $300.
I'm like, man. And again, granted, this is a guy who has employees,
yes,
all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, there are levels to this,
yes,
right? And I understood that. So, but I was like, I think what struck me was it wasn't 18,000 for a logo project. It was 18,000 for a logo. It wasn't for the collateral. It was a separate cost. So it was 18. So I think the whole project entirely was, I think, up to 50K. So that was for like a logo, to do strategy in the sense of, coming up with the planning, trying to do all the research, figuring out who your audience are,
competitor research,
pain points, all the competitor analysis, everything. And when you look at all those data, you're like, yeah, I can't charge $500.
Yes,
like,
that's so true.
Much. Because, for example, if Apple was to come to me, or Samsung, all those big companies.
If you say 500, they say you're not serious.
They wouldn't even tell me they're not serious. They just move on.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're not doing that.
That's
because if they gave me the $500, I am not probably going to do all the
work they need to do.
Or they're more likely going to change it. There's something, sometimes when you pay for something, you know that I am paying premium for premium, and it's going to last me a long time. With logos, I think sometimes I take it seriously, because when I design your logo, I want it to be a logo that at least lasts you for 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
It's not to say that the logo could change because maybe
you pivot or something.
You pivoted or something, or maybe your strategy has changed from where it was. That happens. But it's so important because you want to resonate it's an identifier.
Yes.
I try not to put too much with logos, but it's a way for people to recognize you.
Yes.
If you see the McDonald's sign, the M,
you know it. Yes.
You know it. And I'm sure that if you were to ask anybody to just describe or to draw the logo, they know it right away. So, and it's a very simple logo.
Yes.
And sometimes and that's another thing that I've learned, is that your logo doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be simple, so that, to the point where you say scalable. You can put it on Favicon, you can put it on social media. It is easy for you to use, so that whatever platforms you decide to use, it's easy for you to roll. So
that's great. No,
500, I can't do that more.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until, I think, maybe just before the pandemic, that a client came up, and I think the first time I charged $3,000. And at the time, I remember when this guy, that was even discounted. That was discounted. I remember. That was actually, not three, it was 3,500. It was supposed to be 5,000. I know that I'm also just showing you my pricing so that,
book him though.
set your expectations.
Yes.
But again, that is still not enough. If I'm being honest, it's not enough because think about it. How many clients am I going to potentially get
in a year?
I've even seen other my peers who basically book their clients, so they know that in a year, this is how much they're going to make. So that's also something that I'm learning. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to book clients. I need to have the what's it called? The
retainer. Yeah.
No, like the schedulers where people can book and say, okay, yes, and then
I know what you mean.
And then you say, okay, this is for this, because a lot of times projects can be like a month, 2 months, right? So, and it's not just design a logo. You need to think about it.
Yes.
Sometimes some logos are quicker, sometimes it takes long, but
no, to be frank, like honestly, I'm so glad that we had this conversation because like some of the things you're saying, I never thought about them. But before I let you go, I feel like you've dropped some like tips and advice here and there. Like, is there anything you would say to someone that wants to like start a graphic design business? Like, what is something, because you've been running your business for like about 8 years now, or even if not more. 8 years now. So like, is there something like based on your experience so far that you would tell Dewunmi 8 years ago, or someone that wants to start right now?
Oh gosh, many.
What's the most important one?
Honestly, I think I kind of mentioned it before. Is that whatever business you want to start, focus on the why you're starting, because that was what I was asked. Why do I want to start the business? And my answer at the time was like, I want to help people be successful. Yeah. So that's definitely the most important question you should ask yourself. Why am I doing this? Secondly, like I said, don't focus too much on it being a transactional thing. Really focus on trying to understand who it is that you're actually wanting to sell, or what. I know we use the word selling, but establish relationships. I talk about the big brands. These big brands are big because of the
work they did.
The work they did behind the scene to be able to establish these relationships. Every time Apple comes out with a product, somebody may have bought a phone last year, and they would just say last week, and then change the phone because they have hardcore. Yes. Those are your core people that you're constantly meeting. Yes. And it's funny because sometimes I say transactional. I like to think of it in the sense that it's your audience investing in you to see what you come up with next.
Yes, your believers.
So your believers. So I that is what I focus on. On establishing relationship versus transactional. And also, I just feel like, don't feel like you need to have everything all at once. Yes. Don't feel like you need to have a website. And I know I mentioned that, and you were like, website, really?
No, because I don't want to be now DMing people up and down.
No, because I realized that, for example, so I guess I'll speak for myself in the sense that if you're starting a graphic design business and you have Adobe Cloud, which I do, Adobe actually has different product like tools you can use. So we have a tool called Behance. There's also Adobe Portfolio that actually can work as a website.
Oh, okay.
I realized, because I also use that for my own personal project, for my own for working professionally, and I realized that and I literally could have made multiple website with this platform that I'm already paying for.
That you're already paying for.
Versus paying for an actual website. Obviously, I've committed, so I'm committed to it. It is what it is. But I think if I would advise, and again, it's all to manage your cost, so that you're not having to spend too much in expense every time you do your taxes. And yes,
and do your taxes. That's really nice. That's really nice.
So those are the three things. I mean, there's many more, but those are the three things that I would, I would have advised myself back then, is that don't be in a rush. Focus on the why you want to do it. Yes. Establish relationship, and you don't have to have everything at once right off the bat. It takes time. And you just have to stay the course. So,
that's really nice. Thank you so much. I had a great time, chatting with you. Where can people find you?
No. Wait. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
What? I'm joking.
Where can people find you and Timothy Paul Designs?
You can find me. Well, you can Google me, Timothy Paul Designs, or you can find me on Instagram, TP Designs Inc. _Inc. I'm always.
You're incorporated?
Yeah, incorporate.
Oh,
you gotta incorporate.
I love that.
Yeah, you gotta incorporate. You gotta incorporate. So I'm always basically redesigning logos, posting it out, obviously
on
Instagram to engage people. And also, if there is a logo that you think needs to be redesigned, because that's something I also put out there, is that, you guys feel free,
I'll send you SoPlugged's logo.
Sure. I'm always designing. Okay. I'm always designing logo. I'm working on. I just actually did one last night.
For Bitefender.
Yeah, Bitdefender.
Bitdefender. Yeah. I was like Bitefender.
Bitdefender. Yeah, Bitdefender. So I'm working on one now. So if there's a logo out there, feel free to DM me. I'll work on it. But that's where you can find me.
That's sweet. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in.
No, thank you. Thank you
for coming. I appreciate
this. This is just part one of part.
This is part one. You have to come back because we were a bit rushed today, but you have to really come back and break it down. It is okay.
I will come back. I appreciate this. This is nice.
Yeah.
As you know, I do like to talk.
Yeah, I know. But thank you so much. And thank you guys for also tuning in and listening to the Business Mindset podcast. Make sure to follow us on all socials, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye.